Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Market Close. It is Monday, November 11th, 3:46 p.m. And the headline story, I think all of us know what it is already. I don't even got to say it, is Bitcoin. Bitcoin has surpassed $87,000 a coin. Currently, Bitcoin is at 87,118. Have a couple updates this morning in terms of what's going on with Bitcoin. When we last talked, we were at, I think, 84,000. We had just touched 85,000. Since then, you're up about another 2%, 6.58% on the day, 87,100. We got to 87,500. And now that 90,000 level on Bitcoin, if it were to happen, I think a lot of people would get pretty excited to see that play out. So we got to talk about Bitcoin in terms of what's going on, and we'll analyze how that's playing out in the next 15 minutes. We're going to get Robinhood October metrics. So those metrics may be market moving after the bell. Usually Robinhood doesn't really react to their metrics on the monthly when they come out. It takes a couple days for the street to kind of digest it. And this time the street already kind of knows what to expect in October, but there's still a lot of people in the Robinhood ecosystem that don't know what the metrics are going to be, that don't listen to the earnings calls or read the transcripts. And so those numbers will be a surprise to them. Robinhood right here at $33, cooling off a little bit. At one point it was at $34.50 for the day. Now at $33.02, up about 8%. Palantir, $60.58. Palantir did touch $62 at one point. That was on the market open, cooled off as well. Now at 3.73% on the day instead of 6% on the day. But Palantir here at $60. Looks like in the next 13 minutes, if nothing happens, we will close above $60 on Palantir. Tesla, big day for Tesla. Got to 358, now closing in on 347. Looks like it will close above that 345 level, which is exciting. So it took a little breather from 358, but still up 8% on the day, which is very, very exciting. NVIDIA and the semis are down. NVIDIA down about 1.5% on the day. And then obviously Bitcoin, the story of the day, Bitcoin 87,231. SoFi as well, $14. A $14 close on SoFi would be huge, up 7.8% on the day. So in 13 minutes, we'll see how that plays out. But SoFi above 14 would be amazing. And then Micro frickin' Strategy. I didn't even notice it was at 350. Last time I checked, it was at 320. Well, there you go. It's at 350. $350 on MicroStrategy. What's very interesting about MicroStrategy, and that gets us into the entire Bitcoin discussion. So thank you everybody for being here. Let's get started with the show and get into everything. I saw a stat today that I thought was just incredible, and I think it's going to blow your guys' minds as well when you guys see this. MicroStrategy. Some people forget MicroStrategy was around in 1999 and 2000. This company went public a couple years before the dot-com bubble, and their stock price got really high. In fact, their stock price collapsed in the dot-com bubble by 99.9%, and that is not a joke. Currently, MicroStrategy is back to where it was, actually above where it was 24 years ago. It is up 3,000% all time. It lost, again, 99.9% of its value. Now it is back after 24 years at these levels only because of Bitcoin. Which is just incredible. Just incredible. SoundHound is tomorrow. We don't have any big earnings today after the bell. I mean, we have Grab from Southeast Asia, but outside of that, the only big thing after the bell is Robinhood Metrics. So MicroStrategy right here, getting back to that all-time high after a while. Another thing that's important to understand in the context of the Bitcoin move that we had today are the ETFs. So take a look at this. Which is the BlackRock ETF, saw $1 billion of volume in the first 35 minutes of today. The first 35 minutes of trading volumes, which means you would imagine that over the course of the day, you'd probably have a little bit more than $1 billion of trading volumes after those first 35 minutes. And a lot of those trading volumes most likely were inflows. So BlackRock's going to have to be buying a decent amount of Bitcoin later today based on all the inflows they got. And they might have to be buying those Bitcoin at some elevated prices. Bitcoin right now, 87,387. So you got MicroStrategy reaching its dot-com peak. You've got Bitcoin trading volumes for IBIT, and that's just one of the many Bitcoin ETFs that are out there, surpassing $1 billion in the first 35 minutes. And then take a look at this. In November 2021, there was a candle in the 2021 Bitcoin bull market of 7,554. Today, that candle is 6,888, and I think that might be a little higher given Bitcoin is higher than when this picture was posted. So we are approaching levels of bull candles that we saw back in 2021. Now, this might be scaring people a little bit and saying, all right, things are getting really excited right now. Things are getting up there. We should be a little cautious. Here's what Bernstein had to say. So Bernstein put out this memo. Bernstein is a Wall Street fund that has 800 billion with a B, not million, 800 billion assets under management. This is what their crypto research team sent out to their clients today. And I know one of these guys because he's one of the Robinhood research guys. So I've talked to him before, Gautam right there. So I believe this is correct, and it's from a pretty big account. So this is accurate. The digital assets memo. Welcome to the crypto bull market. Buy everything you can. Bitcoin is at 80K. We'll keep it simple. Don't fight this. Add crypto exposure ASAP. Call us if you need help. That's crazy, bro. This is an $800 billion firm on Wall Street. Obviously, they're one of the more bullish firms on Wall Street when it comes to Bitcoin and digital assets. And their note to their clients today is, hey, don't fight it. Buy and get exposure. It's incredible. Now, I know Gautam. He's super cool. I've talked to him before. He's one of the Robinhood lead analysts. He's also one of the lead analysts on MicroStrategy as well. So Bernstein is very bullish on MicroStrategy. They're very bullish on Robinhood. They believe this crypto bull market is real, and their price target for Bitcoin by the end of 2025 is 200,000. So they believe Bitcoin can get to a level of 200,000. So obviously they're pretty bullish, and they're going to advise their clients that, hey, if we think Bitcoin's going to get to this level, get every level of exposure that you can. If you believe in sort of that core thesis, then yeah, it makes sense to get as much exposure in all these different sectors. But obviously, you got to believe that Bitcoin will get there. Take a look at Coinbase as well. $325, 19% up on the day. The last time we saw this level of Coinbase, let's go to the max chart. It was literally December 2021, and they IPO'd in April of 2021. So, I mean, we haven't seen these levels on Coinbase in over 3 years. And Coinbase was at 170 right before Trump got elected. Bitcoin is now up 25% since Trump got elected. 325 right here. Coinbase up 20% of the day. BitX as well. This is a big one. $50 up 27% on the day. This is 2x leveraged against Bitcoin itself. And there you go, up 27% on the day as Bitcoin goes up 7.25% on the day. So if you are exposed to crypto today, you have done very well. Rocket Lab, $14.90, that's up 10.29%. HIMS up about 20% at $28.08. SoFi, $14.07. We got 7 minutes left. Looks like we might get a SoFi close above 14, up 8.12%. And then Robinhood, $32.71. Now, Robinhood is selling off a little bit right here. The reason why Robinhood is selling off right here, two reasons. A, people are probably taking some profits. B, remember, Robinhood is not a pure crypto play. And I think it's very important to understand when Bitcoin goes super down, Robinhood doesn't get killed. When Bitcoin goes super up, it helps Robinhood, but it doesn't take Robinhood to the moon like it would do for a MicroStrategy, for example. So it is very appropriate to me to see Robinhood's kind of sell off into the close. Robinhood tends to like to consolidate at these levels. If you were following Robinhood at the 2250 levels, we consolidated there for a good 4 or 5 months. We stayed at that 2250 before it broke out. So obviously, if Bitcoin goes higher, is that good for Robinhood? Yes, but they are a real business outside of just like being algorithmically tied to crypto. And so I would imagine people take some profits and it kind of chills in this 31 to 32 level before continuing to go higher. Overall, absolutely insane day for the broader markets. MSTX is probably over 75 right now. MSTX, goodness gracious, dude, $94 right now on MSTX. This is 2x long MicroStrategy. This is up 53% in a day. $700 million under management. The options, the puts and calls on this, the volumes and premiums on that are incredible. Same thing with BitX. The premiums on that are also really good. A lot of these trading instruments have very strong option markets that are pretty liquid, but they were all waiting for this moment that I think everyone was waiting for over the past couple of years, and this moment is here. Bitcoin at 87,000. Pretty incredible. Pretty incredible for what we are seeing right now in Bitcoin. Let's listen to Mr. Dan Ives get some takes on what's going on in the world of Tesla and see what he has to say. We got the market close in 5 minutes. Again, Tesla, really good day. Makes sense that Tesla's selling off from 358. People are taking some profits right here. Obviously, Tesla's an incredible run. But Dan Ives believes that Tesla is only going higher, and he believes that Trump truly is a catalyst that the street cannot ignore. And as a result, that is continuing to add a bit more momentum to Tesla stock right here.
Now between President-elect Trump and Elon Musk.
Yeah, I think it's the autonomous piece. I mean, if you look at full self-driving autonomous, I could argue it's the most undervalued AI play in the market today. And I think autonomous cyber cab and the timing, I think it could get accelerated 2 to 3 years. And that's important in terms of from the sum of the parts. The stock, that could add $1 trillion of valuation alone And you could be looking at 20, 30% more revenue per year that you even see today.
You think $2 trillion valuation over the next 12 to 18 months is reasonable?
I think it's conservative, potentially.
Now, Dan Ives saying that's conservative, meaning a doubling of the stock from here, or about 80% up from here is conservative, means that he really thinks Trump is bullish, but Tesla's got to execute on getting this robotaxi network to get out there.
If they actually execute on the vision that I see, not just in terms of autonomous and AI, but really it's more about that software penetration within Teslas from an FSD perspective. It changes the whole business model.
I'm trying to think of, so they have less than 10% market share in China, correct? BYD's got like a third. Demand for EVs is already sort of slowing globally. So if you have a pickup in tariffs and you have what is a more protracted trade war, what does that do to Tesla's prospects in China?
Sure. I think there's one big X variable. The bet for the ages.
Pardon the pun.
No, and I think the bet for the ages for Musk was betting on Trump, because he is going to have a significant seat at the table when it comes to the China tariffs. I think especially on the AI trade, I fully expect there'd be carve-outs relative to Tesla and Apple when it comes to any sort of tariff back and forth. And I think within China, Musk has been that sort of 10% politician, 90% CEO. China just had a record quarter, if you look back. So I'm not of the belief that China is going to be a huge headwind. I think overall, this is a game changer for the story. You know, when you look at, I think over the next 12
is there any spreading yourself too thin risk? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right? This guy's running like all sorts of stuff, and now he's got a foot and a half in he's going to have a foot and a half in the Oval Office whenever he wants it.
Look, being essentially a whisperer, really a strategic advisor for Trump, I mean, it's going to just put another sort of balancing act for him between SpaceX, Tesla, Boring Company, and others. But my view here is that investors will take that, because Musk having a strategic view and a strategic, I think, essentially chair in the White House is significant for AI. It's for autonomous. But most importantly, the biggest regulatory issue that they've had to navigate from an autonomous perspective, a lot of that now starts to dissipate. And that's a key part of the value. I mean, I ultimately look at this as unlocking $1 trillion of value in Tesla, AI and autonomous.
Simply because of Donald Trump's win?
Simply because of Trump's win, because Trump.
And Dan Ives is not alone on that. Bank of America says the same thing. The thesis is Trump is cool with Elon. Elon's going to be able to fast track regulation. And that's why they think they can add value. Folks, we got about 30 seconds until the market closes. Robinhood has officially achieved #1 on the finance app store. Coinbase is #3. Robinhood and Coinbase were 3 and 4 like 20 minutes ago. Robinhood is now #1 on the app store. Coinbase is #3. I know we're getting October metrics, but it looks like these November metrics, given the user growth that they might be getting literally right now due to the momentum, might be pretty strong as well going into November, which makes me pretty, I think Q4 can be a really good quarter, especially because Q4 last year was, you know, they did $476 million in revenue. If you think they can grow 40% above that, do they have the momentum in October, November? It seems like so far that's the case. But we have to let the, rest of the next few months play out for Q4 to see how this plays out. All right, Monday, November 11th, 4 p.m. The stock market is now closed. Robinhood closes at 32.80, up 7.4% on the day. After hours, 32.91, up about another third of a percent. Palantir closes at its highest level ever, $60.27 on Palantir, up 3.22% of the day. Again, we did hit 62 this morning, $60.22, up 3.2% of the day. Tesla, wow, Tesla got a 350 close. Tesla was struggling to get to 350. Tesla got a 350 close for the first time last time they were at 350. Let's just take a look at the chart. It was 2022, April 2022. So it's been a while. It's been over 2 years for Tesla to get that 350 close, up about 9% of the day. Tesla is up. Bitcoin, 87,000. Coinbase, 324, up 20% of the day. MicroStrategy, MSTX, leverage 2x long fund, up 50% of the day at 92.61. BitX up 27% on the day at $50. We had Carnival Cruise that was up 2% on the day. All the cruise lines, Royal Caribbean up 4%, Norwegian up about 2%. Hims was up 20% on the day. CleanSpark, by the way, this one got unhalted, up 30% on the day. Rocket Lab does have earnings to borrow, or it looks like it's getting a little pre-earnings pump, up 9.4% on the day. Dogecoin is 32 cents, up 10%. S&P 500 ends at 598. IWM also 241, 1.5% on IWM. I believe that's an all-time high on IWM. Yeah, that's an all-time high on IWM. Officially all-time high on small caps. And then the Qs had a little bit of a tougher day. Qs were down about 0.06% because some of the Max 7 sold off a little bit towards the end of the day. All right, so Hood metrics. Let's take a look at them. They should be out in like a few minutes, maybe even a few seconds, but they should be out soon. And we will see what Robinhood reports for October. Again, not sure if it's really market moving. Robinhood already had a pretty big move today already, so these metrics are just going to be important to kind of keep up with what happened in Q4. Pretty incredible. Yeah, Eric says check out the last candle on Tesla. Pretty incredible. I did not see that 350 coming. I think it was at 347 when we started the stream. So we had a look at that big green candle all the way up there. Let's put it on the minute chart. Yeah, take a look at that. Nice green candle right towards the end of the day after falling. It got to 336 at one point. So it did have a nice little decline from 358, even though 336 was still up 4 or 5%. But it ends the day up about 9% of the day at 350 for Tesla. SoFi, where did SoFi end? SoFi ended above 14. Look at that. You got a $14 close on SoFi. That's not bad at all. That's not bad at all. $14 close on SoFi, $14.11 on SoFi, $14.10 after hours, up 9% basically on the day. It looks like SoFi wants 15. And again, it looks like 2025 is going to be a strong year when it comes to tailwinds for financials. XLF also up 2% on the day. Bank of America up 2%. Square was up 11% on the day. It looks like they're getting some Bitcoin momentum. Shopify was up 4%. Was gold actually down 4%? We had some gold exposures down 4%. Gold was down about 2.35%. Yeah, GLD. Gold getting a little bit hit as the market potentially rotates. Meta was also down 1% on the day. And then the 10-year, I think the 10-year was down today. The 10-year was indeed down 4.306. Nice to see the 10-year actually go down as equities continue to go higher. Okay, Hood, let's see if these results are out. Let's see. They should be out very soon. Sometimes maybe 4:05, so maybe we got to wait 2 minutes, but we should be getting them pretty soon as well. The VIX is down. Yes, the VIX is also down. Take a look at the VIX right here. VIX is nicely down 31% over the past 5 days. Year to date, VIX is up 13%. Again, it had that big spike to 66 or 65 a while ago. But VIX is currently down right now, which is also good. It was up a little bit today. So we did have some volatility towards the end of the day, which is why it probably went up about 0.47%. But over the past month, it's down 23%, which means volatility is going down as equities continue to go higher. Rocket Lab earnings are not today. They're tomorrow. Rocket Lab is tomorrow. So Rocket Lab, we will wait until tomorrow. They are not today. CrowdStrike as well had a hell of a day, dude. This stock, everyone thought the company was dead after their fiasco in July. 342. I think they got upgraded to 375 by Morgan Stanley on Friday. Up about 4% right here. So the dip on CrowdStrike, and people call Palantir's valuation ridiculous. The PE of CrowdStrike is 500. Price of sales is 30. Now Palantir's price of sales is 60. So it's a little bit, it's double that, but still, there are expensive tech stocks that are out there that are growing that the street's willing to pay a premium for if they believe there's some quality there. Okay, metrics are not out yet. Probably in the next 30 seconds. I know I've been saying that for the past couple of minutes, but probably 4:05-ish we get it. And we will see. Total spot Bitcoin ETF volume surpasses $6.9 billion today. Thank you for that, Ali. Wow. $7 billion of Bitcoin ETF volumes is incredible. Shopify earnings is tomorrow. There's no big earnings today, guys. So no big earnings today outside of Grab. Monday was in the morning. Shopify is tomorrow in the morning. We'll put Grab right here. Grab is slightly flat right now. We'll check out their numbers, but no other big earnings currently after the bell. Is this a record for inflows? I mean, I think it's a record for trading volumes, or it's very close to a record. For inflows, we're going to have to wait a couple hours to see what the inflows look like. But because, again, volumes could be people selling it as well. But given the momentum of Bitcoin, you probably had a lot more people buying those ETFs than selling them. Ryan says, admit this pump is making me manic. Well, This is what the stock market does, dude. At the end of the day, our net worths, or significant parts of our net worths, are tied to public equities. I mean, it will make you a little manic going up and down. It's the nature of dealing with it. But again, I think, people have been through some stuff over the past couple of years in the markets, especially 2022 and 2023 was trying to recover. Rates were going the highest in 40 years. So this is a culmination of a lot of catalysts coming together, which is why we're seeing the markets do well right now. Okay. Hood numbers should be out in 30 seconds again. I mean, they're usually here at 4:05. It's 4:06, so we should get them pretty quick. Oh, we got them. All right, here we go at 4:04. Source not found. All right, let's go to press release instead. Here they are. All right, here we go, folks. Let's take a look at these numbers. These are Robinhood October metrics for Q4. All right, funded customers were 24.4 million. They added 90,000 users in September 2024, or up from September 2024 into October. Assets under custody, wow, 159 billion. This was 152 in Q3. Net deposits, holy moly, 5.2 billion in October. Remember, Hood did have Hood Week, and Vlad said they were about 4 billion during their earnings call, so I guess they got a lot more after that. 5.2 billion in October is incredible. Over the last 12 months, net deposits were 43.2 billion. Wow, equity trading volumes were 126 billion. Last month, guys, it was 76. That is up 50 billion in the course of 1 month. Option contracts traded were 158 million. Last month, I believe, is 130. So that's up another 20 million. And crypto was 5.6 billion. That's nearing 6 billion. They have a 0.5% take rate on that. So that's printed them probably close to $25 million just off crypto alone. Oh my God, margin bounces. Oh, this is going to be a good quarter. This is going to be a good quarter. This is going to be a really freaking good quarter. Margin bounces are 6.2 billion. Guys, it was 5.5. Not only in September, but also in August. August, September, you had zero movement. You just had a $700 million move in 1 month on margin bounces. Total cash sweep is 25.5. That is above 24. I'll bring up the chart in a second. And then securities lending revenue was 19 million. That is up slightly from November, or from September, but nothing too dramatic. Whoa, these are big numbers. These are big numbers. Let me see if the street's reacting to it at all. Those are really big numbers. Yeah, street's up about 0.21% after hours. Again, street doesn't really move on these numbers, but if you're an investor in Robinhood, these are really freaking good numbers. And look, we knew the numbers would be good. We had a feel, based on what we heard on the earnings, it was supposed to be good, but these are different. These are really good. All right, here are the metrics. So take a look at this. Oh, they changed the design on this. Yeah, they're changing it, their color branding on this. So they added 90,000 customers. That's great. Assets under custody, almost 160 billion. Net deposits, this is their highest month ever in net deposits. Highest month ever. Now, granted, Hood Week, they gave out a lot of bonuses to get these deposits. So it's not like they didn't pay a decent amount for these deposits, but Hood Week was only 2 billion of deposits. That's what they said on the earnings call, which means 3.2 billion outside of their promotional transfers were just people depositing money into Robinhood, obviously, because people also wanted to buy equities because markets were going higher. So 5.2 billion, that makes up for September, which obviously was a tough month historically for them. And that's a very strong number, 41% annualized growth. Cash sweep goes up from 24.5 to 25.5. That means they have $25.5 billion in cash on the platform, 24.8 out of that 25.5. So what is that? 24.8 divided by 25.5. That is 97% of the money is collecting a 5%, or at this point, 4.5% yield, which means that money is from gold subscribers because you need to be gold to get that yield. And Robinhood makes a spread on the yield that they give you. So that's really good for that number to increase. Options traded 158 million. Their highest was July at 160. So you're basically right at July numbers, which are incredible. And it looks like November might overtake October. Equity notional trading volumes, again, look at this, folks. This is the highest they've had in over 3 years, 126 billion. Now, granted, they don't make a lot off of that equity notional trading volumes. It's I think it's a less than a 5% take rate. So it's not a huge amount, but the fact that they put up $126 billion of trading volumes just means, A, that's going to increase their trading revenues. B, it means the amount of people that are using the platform is substantial for them to be trading that many volumes on Robinhood. Crypto, 5.6 billion. That's incredible. They increased their take rate, which is great. And then this one has me the most excited. Margin, they have a 6.2% average interest rate on margin, and that probably went down a little bit because they lowered margin rates recently. But that just increased by 700 million. That's a lot. That's a lot. It's moving after hours a bit. Okay, 3309. Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense to be up 1% after hours. These are big numbers. Big numbers. There you go. Not bad. Not bad for Mr. Hood. Vlad, if you're watching, you did it again. Keep doing what you're doing. You are absolutely crushing it, and the entire team at that company is absolutely crushing it. And also, did you guys know Vlad is like worth like $2 billion at this point? A little bit more now that the stock's up. He owns 50 million shares, so he's doubled his net worth from the beginning of the year when he was worth a little bit less than $1 billion. So congratulations to Vlad and the entire team. These are good numbers. These are really good numbers, bro. And what's scary is November seems like it's already way better than October, just in terms of the momentum we're seeing in terms of activity. If people took out even more margin balances, people are doing even more options, people are depositing even more money, then this Q4 is going to be big. Q4 is going to be pretty big for Hood. Hood just hit top 440 free apps. Let me take a look at that. Yeah, Hood is now number 1 in the finance sector. It looks like in the App Store they are top 40. And Coinbase is not too far behind, which means all this means, what does this mean for you kind of understanding the crypto markets? It means retail's coming back. It means retail is absolutely coming back if Hood and Coinbase are getting into those top free apps. By the way, Kalshi, it was like the number 1 app store in the world. It is like now kind of out of sight, out of mind, because no one cares about the election anymore, right? And so this is the thing about building a consumer business that is so difficult and so grueling, because the election was their tailwind to be able to get all these users. But now that the election's over, do people really care? Do people really care? And it's tough. It's tough to do it. Robinhood at 40, Coinbase at 44. If these guys get into the top 10, I think that will get, I mean, that means Bitcoin is probably inching up to that $100,000 level. And that's probably going to create a lot of momentum for both of those products as they continue to grow. Ryan says, an old lady at work asked me about Bitcoin. Well, it's happening, folks. It is. But see, this is the thing. If an old lady at work asks you about Bitcoin, yeah, Robinhood up 2% after hours. There you go. There's that green candle. Makes sense. These numbers are really good. If an old lady asks you about Bitcoin, that means she probably wants to buy some. And so she's probably Googling where to buy Bitcoin. And Robinhood and Coinbase might be coming up. And that's how she's downloading those products and likely putting in some money to those platforms and maybe buying some Bitcoin. That's kind of how it happens. I mean, that's how it happened for me in 2017. Bitcoin was at 20,000. I remember I was in Alexander Library in Rutgers. And I was like, I just saw Bitcoin going to the moon. And I was like, how do I get some of this? And I downloaded Coinbase for the first time. Like, it's really that simple. Like, it's a very simple kind of approach to getting new users. Bitcoin just has to go up. And Bitcoin is going up. 87,386 right here on Bitcoin currently right now. I don't think that's fully top signal yet. Yes, that is a bit toppy in terms of, like, you know, average people wanting to know about it. But I think Hood and Coinbase, like in the top 5, is when you're seeing a little bit more, okay, everyone's kind of getting into this thing right now. I still don't think everyone's fully in yet. Now, Dogecoin going up means that retail is definitely coming back, because no institution is buying Dogecoin. At least I don't think so. And most people are buying Dogecoin on Robinhood, which is also another catalyst for Robinhood and those crypto volumes as well. Okay, not bad at all. Shout out to Robinhood. Great October, and looks like November will continue to be well. Palantir after hours, $60.50. Guys, if you are on FinTwit, you are seeing some of the Palantir slander. There are people that are not happy right now. Let's just say that. There are some very big accounts that cannot fathom what is happening with Palantir. There's a big account that I quote tweeted right here. And I said to them what I said to everybody else. Got to enjoy the ride. You got to enjoy the ride. So this is a pretty big account. I think it's like 500,000 followers. Palantir is now trading at a 56 times price to sales ratio and a 330 times price to earnings. Do valuation metrics even matter anymore? And so you got a lot of people in the comments being like, this is stupid. This is a bubble. Some people are bringing up Cloudflare, which was trading at 100 times price to sales in 2022. I don't know how the hell Cloudflare got to 100 times price to sales in 2022. And then Snowflake at one point was 100 times price to sales. Palantir at 50s price to sales. So maybe it has further to go to get to like that real area that Cloudflare and Snowflake were at. But I just said dance a little bit and enjoy the ride. Enjoy the ride, man. Enjoy the ride of what's happening right here for Palantir. Again, is it expensive? Yes. No one can say it's not expensive, but it's up to the market to determine kind of how to make these valuation metrics. I'm not buying, I'm not selling. And I think that's a fair thing to say if you've been in the Palantir community for a long time. You're not buying, you're not selling. If you do sell, congrats on the profits. But I think buying here is a bit risky. Granted, I said that at 45, and here we are at 60. So maybe we continue to go even higher from these levels. Palantir also surpassed Lockheed Martin's market cap for a little bit today. Right now, 134 billion. Where's LMT? LMT is at 135. Okay, so Lockheed Martin's just above, but at one point when Palantir was 61, they did surpass Lockheed Martin's market cap. Lockheed Martin revenue, I'm curious, what is their revenue? Their revenue is, now granted, they don't have 80% gross margins. Their revenue on a TTM is $68 billion. Palantir is $2 billion. But Palantir is Palantir. Palantir has, first of all, Palantir has better margins than a defense contractor. Second of all, the growth potential of Palantir is way stronger than the growth potential of Lockheed Martin. And so, maybe there's an argument that the street's continuing to give Palantir a little bit more of that momentum. Arnie says people are crying for missing it. Let me show you guys this chart Arnie posted today, which is important to analyze as well. So look, we've been talking about this OpenAI Palantir comparison for a while. There is an argument here. So this is what Arnie tweeted. Palantir's AI infrastructure, OpenAI is an AI model. Palantir is an emerging monopoly. OpenAI might be on a road to being a commodity if you believe in the LLMs being commoditized. Palantir is 40% free cash flow margins. OpenAI is losing $5 billion a year. Palantir is GAAP profitable. OpenAI said they won't be profitable for the next 5 years. Palantir solves problems. OpenAI talks to you, aka, ChatGPT kind of just like has an interactive conversation with you. And Palantir is a devoted executive team, people that have been there for 20 years. OpenAI, everyone's leaving except Sam Altman. Now, look, I am open to the counter argument that OpenAI has a bigger TAM. It's open to all the consumers. They might achieve AGI, and how do you put a price on that? I get it. All those arguments are very valid. But I also think there's an argument that if Palantir is building AI infrastructure to operationalize the commodities into the enterprise, aka the LLMs, even if they're growing significantly lower than OpenAI, the market perceives that infrastructure, which is what makes AI meaningful in the enterprise, is valuable, and it is going to be more and more valuable over the next decade, which is why they're giving Palantir this multiple. That is kind of my best way to kind of make the argument for Palantir using OpenAI as a comp. Again, you can disagree with that valuation metric. It's not really using a DCF or anything, kind of trying to come up with a story on how the market is perceiving it, because I think any DCF anyone does right now is not going to be able to easily justify. I mean, you would have to do 45% growth for like 10 years to come to even something close to $60 right now. But there might be more for what the market's paying for. And it seems like that's what that's what is happening right now. Where is Bitcoin after hours? Bitcoin, oh my God, are we about to see 88? Whoa, $100 away from 88. Robinhood right here, 33.27 after hours off of a monster October quarter. BitX is moving after hours. MicroStrategy, I don't even want to look at MicroStrategy. MicroStrategy is up another $5 after hours, up 2%. And Coinbase right here, up another 0.5%. Bitcoin trying to get to $88,000 on the day. What do you guys think about my argument for OpenAI and for what Arnie chart? Is that is that absolute BS? And be honest, if you think that's absolute BS, that weight of value Palantir against OpenAI, just put in the chat BS. That's totally fine. Or do you think, there's some level of analysis there that could be comparable to justify the way the market's perceiving Palantir? Because to me, I'm open to it being BS, but I'm also trying to figure out how do you justify it. And I think you've got to be a little creative here and say this is the way the market's kind of comping Palantir in the context of OpenAI. Jed has a big BS. All right, there we go. That is kind of my analysis on how I'm thinking of it. ASD says not absolute BS, but pretty much. It's like when you're presenting in like elementary school or middle school, right? And you you're the person in the group that didn't pay attention, and they go to you to like say some words about the PowerPoint, and you're like, well, the way I think about it is that it's very important to understand the way things happen in order for us to think about things to have a much more meaningful understanding of how those things actually occur. Not gonna lie, that actually sounded pretty dope. I'm not gonna lie, what I just said right there, I don't know what the fuck I said, but I think it kind of made a little bit of sense. All right, let's go to one of my favorite analysts from JP Morgan, Gabriella Santos. Let's get her perspective on what's happening, and then we will keep an eye on Bitcoin and keep going from there.
Changed kind of everything in this market. How should we view what's taking place and what we think could still happen?
So we're just putting our pencils down here on our year ahead outlook, and coming into the election, we were calling it out of the cyclical storm. So really this idea that before this,
she definitely has the laser eyes. If we put red eyes on her, she would definitely have the laser eyes.
We had been talking about the economy normalizing, rates normalizing, earnings growth normalizing, and it just being kind of about rebalancing portfolios. Now we've tweaked that title to be out of the cyclical storm and into the policy fog. I do think up until the end of the year, markets are going to continue to cheer this removal of the actual election result uncertainty. But then into next year, it's all about the three S's. What's the scope of policy? What's the sequencing of various policy measures? And of course, what's the starting point here in terms of valuations in the economy?
Is it really a policy fog, or is there clarity now? Because we know that former President Trump, soon to be president again, wants to re-up the tax cuts. He's going to do everything in his power. He's going to think that's going to just stimulate more growth.
I think that there's still quite a lot of questions around the scope and the sequencing. So what exactly is the scope of these tax cuts? Is it just extending the TCJA expiring provisions? That's one scenario. Or is it adding on top of that additional corporate and individual tax cuts? And that matters in terms of projections for the deficit, economic growth, and inflation, and hence rates across the curve. There's also this big question of tariffs, right? What exactly is the scope of that versus what's been proposed? And is that something that this new administration starts to implement right away? Or is it maybe something that's used as a negotiating chip? And hence, you have more limited impacts on inflation, the dollar, and rates.
Stephanie, what's your view?
Look, ultimately, all these analysts keep bringing up this idea that Trump is bullish and that these policies are going to hopefully not be inflationary, which all of us are hoping for. Robinhood right here, 1.25% after hours. And also that those tax cuts probably can get into action, and that leads to more earnings per share for these companies. And the market's front running it. Now, one fear I do have is that if the market is front running all of the growth from the Trump-like policies, Bitcoin, 88,000, we got to ring the bell. Bitcoin, a new all-time high. We went from 80,000 last night to 88,000 today. I was saying one fear I do have is like, all right, if we're pulling forward all this growth because the market's assuming, Trump's going to do well, tax cuts, yada, 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 then maybe 2025, until the companies actually grow, we're not going to be able to see that momentum. But regardless, I mean, if the companies can keep growing into it and maybe even expand their growth because the policies are so business friendly, you might get even more growth than expected. And that's why the market is getting eager to buy in. $88,000 on Bitcoin. It is up 7.8%. We were at 67,000 on November 4th. We are currently at 87,000 and or 88,000. And all the crypto proxies are just loving this right now. MicroStrategy after hours continues to get momentum up another 3% at 348. MicroStrategy now is $70 billion company with, I think, 25 billion in crypto profits on paper, or not 20 billion in crypto. But they have a 25 billion Bitcoin stake, and they have a $12.5 billion paper profit on Bitcoin. And then where's Coinbase after hours? Coinbase up another 1%, 327 after going up 20% today. Where's CleanSpark? CleanSpark, 1786, 1.42%. A lot of people have bought CleanSpark in the 20s. So CleanSpark getting back into the 20s would be super bullish for the miners. Marathon is up another 1.2% after hours. Marathon up 30% on the day. Riot had a great day. Riot was up 17% today, up another 1% after hours at $15.10. Josh, thank you for the 888 super chat. I see what you did there with the 888. Let's effing go. Let's effing go. This is huge. Even on Hood, cash sweep is at an all-time high, so even retail has a lot of cash on the sidelines. Yeah, that's a good point. If $25 billion are in cash on Robinhood, and there's $6 trillion in money market funds, again, as rates come down, some of that cash is going to get deployed into the markets. And if it does, that's just more trading volumes, more activity for Hood and the overall market. I mean, like realistically, dude, there's a world in which like a lot of these numbers add up to, maybe even more than 40% growth if December goes well. And then Robinhood, I don't know. Does it touch 35? Does it touch 40? If Bitcoin gets to 100K, do those volumes just like Robinhood is going to be number one in the App Store for a while, at least in finance, if it has this much momentum? I think it's possible. I think it is possible. So Robinhood right here at 33.20 after the hours. And look, it long term, again, they're a real business outside of crypto, and that's why it's one of my favorite crypto plays, and it has been all year. So, and on top of that, dude, next year they've got a lot more coming. I think they've got a ton of events. They have an investor day. I'll be going to the investor day December 4th. So I'll definitely get you guys a ton of content from that investor day. That'll be in New York City. And, I imagine they're going to put on a big show, make sure people kind of understand their vision. They have their financial LLM that is probably going to be coming out next year in terms of their AI stuff. They're acquiring Bitstamps next year. Like there's just so much stuff they're doing and they're moving for in order to capitalize on this momentum. And it looks like they are executing. Palantir right here, $60.51. Palantir also up another 0.5% after hours. Coinbase up another 1%. MicroStrategy up 3.35. Bitcoin is really holding above 88, folks. Goodness freaking gracious. Bitcoin holding above 88,000. Gene says you abused the cowbell today. That is correct. I absolutely abused the cowbell today. For those searching for the hood numbers, let me put it in the chat right here. Just click on this link and it'll take you to the October metrics. And so I'll post it on Twitter in a second as well. And so you guys will be able to see everything on my Twitter. Many of us have had our lives changed forever since Trump won. I hate to be dramatic, but like, I just don't know if this would have happened if Trump didn't win. I don't know. And now, we can't go back in history. It is what it is. It's done. Trump is the president. And I don't know if this happens if Trump doesn't win, dude. I really don't know. I don't know if the catalyst of raising corporate income taxes and letting Lina Khan try to break up Google would get the markets to be at an all-time high. I just don't know. But the good thing is we don't have to figure out because the markets are here and they are pricing in some strong growth over the next 4 years. Loop says, I'm officially a millionaire. I'm freaking out. That's amazing. Congratulations to you, Loop. That is incredible. $1 million, bro. That's kind of crazy, right? A lot of people work their whole lives and never see $1 million net worth. It is one of those things where you got to just give yourself a little pat on the back for investing and having the courage to invest to be able to get there. $1 million, bro. And I think you're not alone. I think there's a lot of people in this market that are having their lives changed based on some of these equities. Now, if you are in some of the tough names that are getting hit today, you're not doing that well. So one of the names that comes to mind is the solar plays. These are just still getting hit. SolarEdge was up 1% on the day. Did Enphase end up going green? Enphase was down 5% on the day, 4.84%. So you do have some names that are not benefiting from massive growth like we were seeing with the crypto proxies or financials because, they're just not Trump trades. IBIT as well was up. IBIT was up 13% today. I didn't even see that. The BlackRock ETF. It's up another 2% after hours. But yeah, Enphase got hit down about 5%. I'm trying to find other names like Enphase that are getting hit now that Kamala won. Do you guys have any names? Like any names that are actually getting going down because of Trump winning? Like I want to say oil, but I don't think oil is necessarily like oil prices are going down, but XLE is going up. So it's oil like Oxy, and all those took a big hit already from 80 to 60 when oil fell. So those aren't really losers here. It looks like solar is the biggest loser. Redfin, well, I think that's more about rates and mortgages coming down. Nike, China. Well, yeah, China had a little bit of move today, but yeah, that is a good point. Also the semis. Now the semis have had a great year, so if you've been in the semis, you've done very well. But in the short term, the semis have not benefited from Trump. I think solar's the biggest thing that it got hit from Trump, which is funny, dude. I don't think there's any other industry out there that actually got hit as bad as solar. Pharmaceuticals, weed. Well, that was also the Florida ruling, right? To not legalize. Wow, why was it down 17% today? MSOS, that's the ETF for cannabis. What the heck happened today, dude? Like I know Florida said we're not going to legalize it recreationally, but that was last week. Holy crap! Yeah, I guess so. Weed and solar got hit. Goodness gracious, dude. That is nasty. Nike, where's Nike? Again, Bill Ackman bought a ton of this stuff. Nike at 70. But Nike's basically where Bill Ackman bought it at. Nike, I think, is down since Trump won. Nike stock. Nike currently, past month, it's down 7%. It's down 7%. It's actually taking a bit of a hit. Past 6 months is down 17%. Bill Ackman bought it, I think, in the maybe 72, 73 range, probably maybe 74. It was at 81. Now it's at 76 right here. We're going to get more 13Gs and 13Fs soon. So we'll see kind of where the big guys are spending their money. Grab earnings. I don't have the numbers yet, but it is up a little bit after hours. Let me see if I can get those numbers. If I have those, Grab No numbers yet. It should be out maybe now at 4:30, but not officially out yet. Not out yet. Yeah, weed and solar. Weed and solar got hit the worst off of Trump. But every other sector, tech is doing well. Again, the Mag 7 have done well this whole year. So if the Mag 7 are not doing well right now, that's okay because it's kind of broadening out. Tech, small caps, and crypto are doing the best right now. And if you're exposed to any of that, Trump is like heavily benefiting your portfolio. And then we'll put Tesla in its own category. Tech, crypto, and small caps, and then Tesla. Like Tesla's just got to be in its category by itself. Let's finish listening to Dan Ives. By the way, Tesla up another 1% after hours, 352. So Tesla continuing to move. Let's just finish up what Dan Ives was saying about Tesla, and then we'll keep going from there.
Trump's win changes the whole game for Musk, for Tesla, for autonomous, for FSD. They'll still have issues on states. This is not going to be, 100% smooth road, but this is a much different stock than it was a week ago with Trump in the White House.
Is there any risk whatsoever? I mean, I know. I mean, I ask you this just as like kind of devil's advocate. I don't know what the likelihood, if any, there actually is. But is there any risk whatsoever of a larger role, bigger than foreseen, within the administration, to where he would potentially be a seller of stock?
Sure. So I don't see that Musk is going to take a formal cabinet position. We'll call him like an AI ambassador. He's going to create. I mean, he's going to be very strategic. I think in very key aspects on tech, on tariffs, on AI. But I don't see any issue from a cabinet perspective, selling of stock. And I'd also say broader, from a tech perspective, whether you're an NVIDIA investor, Apple, Musk having a say in AI and in tariffs when it comes to China, as odd as it seems, there's actually a comfort in him having that seat on the table versus a 202 bureaucrat.
So I mentioned your new title, and with that comes with a little bit wider scope of a coverage universe, now including NVIDIA. How do you see the political debate around selling chips in China? Is there risk around that now more so than ever because of the relationship that Trump's going to have with the Chinese?
Yeah, I think it's a bargaining chip because Trump, Musk, everyone knows there's only one game in town. It's NVIDIA, right? It's Godfather of AI, Jensen, NVIDIA. And this is going to give them more negotiating power in terms of chips into China. And it's something that's going to ultimately play out. You saw the tariffs. I think it's had a contained impact on NVIDIA. But it continues to be our belief. This is all setting up for a golden age of AI, not just for NVIDIA, but for broader tech. Mm-hmm. But it's a bargaining chip as they negotiate with Beijing.
What about, speaking of negotiations with Beijing, what about for a company like Apple, which is trying to embed, all this new technology around AI, and it wants to sell a lot of these phones within China? Yeah. They're obviously not expected to be that open to just allowing anything to be sold in their country. What kind of risk is there around that if there is some escalation between the two countries?
And I think no one understands that better than Cook in terms of the China sort of dynamics. I continue to believe they get a strategic partner in China, whether it's Baidu, whether it's Baba, that's going to be, we'll call it the AI partner for Apple when it comes to iPhone 16, eventually iPhone 17. And I think that's why China is going to be a strength for Apple, not a headwind.
Because you can't have a carve-out for everything, right? Not every single company is going to have its little carve-out, which enables what is an acrimonious relationship between China and the U.S. to just benefit X, Y, Z company and this company here. At some point, broader policies in this country are going to impact big businesses.
No doubt. But I think Musk being involved changes the whole landscape. And I think that's something where in tech, the reason you haven't seen tech sell off in terms of worries about tariffs, there's a view Musk understands in terms of there will be poker moves played, but no poker move was better than ultimately him betting on Trump, because now we're talking about something that's going to be, I think, trillions.
No, that sure looks like a royal flush that he had he had in his hand. Lastly, and then I got to go. NVIDIA, what is next week? The earnings, right? What do we think about this heading in?
Get the popcorn, get the watch parties ready. I mean, this is going to be a jaw dropper. I think Street's still underestimating in terms of where numbers go over the next 1-2 years. I think this is one. They will battle, but ultimately $4 trillion market caps on the horizon.
We'll leave it there. Dan Ives, new title and all.
Nvidia next week is kind of crazy. I forgot. Is that no? That's on the 20th. So we have about so basically next week. Nvidia is gonna be wild. I'll be live for Nvidia, so we'll discuss that. But look, when it's the first time I called it a poker move. I think he's right. I mean, quite literally, it was Elon's trump card, right? It was a poker move. It was, I'm gonna take an asymmetric bet on this guy winning, and if he doesn't win, I'm screwed. If he does win, I get everything. Elon Musk just made another $10 billion today, net worth. I mean, if Elon, he paid a couple $100 million, or I think it was 130 million was the reported number, to get Trump into office. If he had not done that, I mean, Elon was worth, I think, 220 or 230 billion before Trump got elected. You're talking about almost $100 billion increase in your net worth simply because this guy got in. It's quite literally, it was one of the best poker moves ever. It was an asymmetric bet on risking everything to try to see if you could get an ally in the White House, because you're going to need an ally over the next few years if Tesla wants to get past what it is trying to get past. 88,300 on Bitcoin, folks. It is very close to 90,000. And 90,000, I think, is, so let me ask what you guys thought. Was there something psychological when you saw 80,000? Because, there was something psychological for me, but still, it was cool seeing 80,000. 90. If there's a 9 in front of Bitcoin, that's a different level of psychology, in my opinion. That's and obviously, if 100 is that's going to be just crazy, but 90 is oh, this is happening. This is really, really happening. Elon paid $44 billion for Twitter. Tesla gained $450 billion market cap. Yeah, and I'm going to be consistent on this because I've been consistent on this really since 2022. I have always defended Elon's $44 billion purchase. Always. Because for me, outside of the Tesla stuff, for me, I actually did believe him when he said free speech. I really did believe him back in April of 2022. And my original take when this happened on those early market opens 2 years ago was, I like this. I really like that Elon is, because when I saw the Twitter files, I was just like, this is insane, dude. When I saw what the government was doing with Twitter to censor certain types of opinions or news pieces getting out there, I that did it for me. I was like $44 billion to protect free speech at that point is relatively cheap, given that's the First Amendment that we're trying to uphold. Now, granted, given the whole mainstream media is against Tesla, that $44 billion is as an amplification to the Tesla brand and Tesla message without being messed with by the corporate bureaucracy of Jack Dorsey's previous Twitter, I think is relatively cheap, because Tesla now is up $450 billion. Which is absolutely incredible. As Katie says right here, Twitter itself was in no world near worth $44 billion, but free speech was. And long term, I think protecting free speech will make Twitter worth many, many more billions than 44. I think Twitter's a $250 billion company. I think it 5Xs. I think it'll take a decade. Again, the biggest problem with Twitter is most people don't use it because video and stupid cat videos is what attracts most people on Instagram and TikTok, right? And that's where you get billions of users. But Twitter, you have to read stuff. You have to be cognizant. Now they're diversifying with different types of content, but at the end of the day, you have to be wanting to read takes from people or wanting to give your own take, which is not easy to do. So it's a tough platform to monetize, but I think Elon will try to actually make that happen over the next decade. Robinhood right here, 33.54, up about 2.26% after hours, based on the momentum that we see in the context of these after-hour moves. Steven says, Amit, he spent $40 billion to change the direction of election and succeeded you Americans with your horse blinkers jeepers. First of all, I love that you said jeepers at the end. I'm definitely going to steal this, Steven. I'm now going to say jeepers when something's going wrong. I'm like, man, jeepers, this is just wrong. But second of all, I mean, look, I don't think he spent $40 billion to change the direction of election. I genuinely think he spent $40 billion to save free speech. Because if you actually read the Twitter files, which I would recommend everyone to do that before you have an opinion on this, and you see the level of collusion the United States federal government had with Twitter to stop certain messages from gaining mainstream attraction and exposure algorithmically, I mean, if that doesn't give you if that doesn't give you the jeepers, mate, then I don't know what's going to give you the jeepers, okay? Because that gave me the jeepers. So I don't think he spent $40 billion to change an election. I don't even think he liked Trump back in 2022. He spent $40 billion, in my opinion, to save free speech. Did he kind of mess up overpaying? Yes. And I think ultimately it was helping to save Tesla's brand at the end of the day. Now, did he end up using Twitter to help him have a chance to also use his influence to get Trump elected? Sure. But it's not like, the DNC and Democrats have not used mainstream media, CNN, CNBC, MSNBC to expose their agenda as well to the American people. It is a conflicting pattern of agendas that are fighting back and forth for territory. And Elon's doing it via social media. The mainstream media is doing it via TV. At the end of the day, both are fighting. And that's kind of what you have in a democracy. That's the best you can hope for, is that both end up fighting for the best results. Is there a good video overview of Twitter files? Yeah, I would just type in Twitter files recap on YouTube. You're going to find so many videos talking about this stuff. It's bad, dude. It's really bad. And I think a lot of people haven't read what actually happened over 10 years with Twitter. When you read it, it's tough. It's very tough. RC, thank you for the $10 super chat. NVIDIA is the Mount Everest of stocks. Well, in November, they're going to continue to prove if they can stay on Mount Everest. What's really interesting about NVIDIA, again, it's not participating in this rally, but it still is up a lot year to date. Palantir is outperforming NVIDIA. NVIDIA right here year to date is now 195%. Palantir is over 250%. But Blackwell revenues, if that explodes to the upside, Palantir 256%, then I think the street's going to buy up NVIDIA. I really do. And if they have good guidance into Q4, which is going to be the big question, so upwards of like 37 to $40 billion of revenue led by Blackwell, then I think the street's really going to buy up NVIDIA, and 150 is what we're going to see. Yeah, Matt Taibbi, he's the journalist on this. Matt Taibbi is one of the main journalists that you want to read. All this stuff is out there publicly. It's important to read it. And look, Twitter's not perfect. I'm not saying Twitter is a perfect platform right now. I'm just saying there is a decent amount of free speech, and it is very hard to get banned on Twitter. Like, you would have to do some egregious stuff to get banned on Twitter. Whereas in, 2020, you could say something that just politically was incorrect and boom, you're banned. I'm like, I don't think we want to live in that world, bro. Like, this is Veterans Day. Our veterans died for our ability to have free speech. Like, we do not want to let that evolve into corporations controlling and colluding with the federal government on what messages they want to get out there or not. And that's why Elon Musk has started to say that you are the media now. And I think it's one of the most beautiful messages in the world. You are the media. You can get your voice out there. You don't have to be controlled by mainstream outlets that want you to think in a certain way. Bitcoin, 88,160 right here, up 8% on the day, up about $7,000 currently on the day. 88,000 seeing some momentum. Robinhood metrics were really good. I'm going to be tweeting it out in a second, but overall equities were great. Options were great. Margin balances were great. Net deposits, $5.2 billion in the course of, let me just share the screen right now. In the course of 1 month, their highest ever, which is pretty incredible. So 5.2 billion, 90,000 new users, 160 billion AUC, cash sweep 25.5 billion, option contracts 158 million. They have a 46% take rate on that. So made a decent amount of money from that. Margin book, that is a big number, dude. 5.5 to 6.2. Look at August and September. It was stuck. It wasn't even moving. And then in October, it's up $700 million. And then you got crypto coming in at 5.6 billion, which is also very good given they increased the take rates on their crypto business. So big number. Big number for Robinhood and for these metrics. Okay, let's listen to a couple more takes on the street in terms of what they're thinking around this current rally. And then we will keep going from there. Here's what Citibank has to say about why this rally is gaining more steam.
Off the highs of the day, though, the Dow and the Russell 2000 are still riding a post-election high. The Dow now on track to close above 44,000 for the first time ever. Joining me now at Post 9 with his post-election playbook is Citi Head of Equity Trading Strategy, Stuart Kaiser. Welcome. It's good to see you.
Thank you.
Are you as bullish as seemingly everybody else?
Yeah, I mean, we're feeling pretty good about things. There's a lot of things to like. Number one is you got this big event out of the way. Mm-hmm. You know, folks had de-risked a little bit going into the event. A lot of vol premium priced in. I think all that's coming out. If you're going to be cautious, I just think it's the speed of the move you've seen and some potential risk maybe spilling over from the bond market. So generally speaking, good, yeah.
For how long does this last, do we think? I mean, what seems reasonable to you?
I mean, we figured 3 to 5 days post-election, you would need to get the positioning and the sentiment kind of rebalanced. And then from there, you're back to the data, right? And that's, what are we getting at from U.S. economic growth? What are we getting out of the Fed? How do earnings kind of wrap up all of those things? But, it does feel like the end of last week, a lot of the positioning got cleaned up, and hopefully we're back to quote-unquote normal operations.
Is it reasonable to think now that what certainly felt like to many, too high valuation or at least expensive, now needs to be reset in and of itself, because now we think, and we're positioning for a higher level of growth than maybe we expected. Thus, valuations will be justified, if not expand even further?
Yeah, I think that's really the debate, because a lot of people are saying 2025 earnings look maybe a little bit high, but if you believe...
Do they now?
Well, that's the question, I think, is do you think you're getting enough of a growth impulse out of the deregulation and sort of the Trump policy mix to compensate for what looked like EPS that was a little bit high? And I would say it's hard to say exactly, but I think, yeah, people are probably a little more comfortable with what that earnings number looks like, which to your point means valuation perhaps less of a challenge than it was, call it 4 weeks ago.
Isn't that the baseline bet at this point? We're sort of all bets were off before. Now the baseline bet feels like, the policies that are going to come forward, especially if there's a significant enough margin in the House, which is still to be, figured out, but it's going to be a red sweep. Yeah. Doesn't that change the game on the way we look at all that?
Yeah, it does change the game in terms of the growth outlook. The other part of it, though, is there are parts of Trump's sort of policy platform that markets might not necessarily like, right? So we're going to have to, as I said, once you get the positioning out of the way.
It's so funny because all these analysts are trying to say, well, the market really likes this, but there's some parts the market may not like. But so far, and they're correct about this, there are some policies the market may not like. But so far, the stock market's basically like, we love everything about Trump. I mean, the way the market's moving outside of certain sectors, and those sectors are just not moving higher if they don't think Trump's going to be friendly to those industries. The market is pretty pro-Trump in terms of deregulation of policies, lower taxes, and more pro-growth initiatives. And that's what we're seeing currently right now baked in. Speaking of Robinhood, let's go to one of Robinhood's latest market analysts. Her name is Stephanie Gill. She actually does a podcast on the Robinhood channel if you guys have checked it out. And let's get her take on what's going on currently in the markets.
Actually, I think the markets will continue to rally. We're right at the door of what I thought was a 20% probability of getting to 6,000 on the S&P. Right now, though, I think we could get to maybe 6,300 over the next 3 to 6 months. But I'm actually a little more positive on mid caps rather than large caps, mostly because slightly better valuations, not as risky from a higher interest rate environment that you could see in small caps. So yes, there is a policy issue maybe coming, but I think the biggest thing I'm watching for that is the direction of interest rates, because that could really slow down the economy.
How much have the goalposts moved in the last five days or so? Hasn't even been a week since we knew the results. But I mean, have the goalposts really moved that significantly? Because the market is clearly placing its bet that the answer to that question is yes.
Yeah, I mean, if everything is a distribution of outcomes, the distribution got shifted to the more bullish side, with the biggest difference in my mind being the specter of more M&A. And you saw the M&A firms have a huge day Wednesday and beyond.
Continuing. The financials are the strongest group today. It's the banks, it's PE firms, it's all the ones who play right into the wheelhouse about what you're talking about.
Yeah, we wrote Morgan Stanley KKR on day one. To me, that's incremental. We have clients, we sell our content to law firms and boards and management teams of companies, as you know, and they're super busy. I mean, these people are not, planning on having a good Thanksgiving, in terms of wasting time. People are very busy trying to figure out, can they close deals? There's a lot in the pipeline. So that's a little bit of a maybe frosting on the cake of the bull case that maybe wasn't in the bull case a week or two ago. Mm-hmm. And I think once you see some mid caps get taken and small caps, it brings up the valuation for stuff in the same industry. And that's kind of how you get a bit of a more bullish scenario. What we wrote in our notes Sunday was, do you sell the inauguration? I mean, everyone's universally bullish on, now to the end of the year. And at some point, maybe you do have to get a little bit of, clarity on what some of the policies can be, what it really means for earnings out 2-3 years. Mm-hmm. But I do think for now, the bulls are in charge.
I would say he's right. It does feel like the bulls have a little bit more strength versus some of the bear arguments that we're currently seeing. Robinhood 33.74 after hours, up 3%. Yeah, those are those metrics, folks. Those metrics were really good. Robinhood's benefiting from that. SoFi, $14 again after the bell. Palantir up a little bit after the bell, 60.33. CrowdStrike 342. Where's Bitcoin? Just under 88,000. But Bitcoin right here at 87,920 currently right now. Will Wonka or Willy Wonka. You guys choose the most interesting names, because I know your name is not really Willy Wonka, but I love the names that you guys pick. Thank you for being a channel member. Happy birthday, everyone. Willy, thank you for being a channel member. And happy birthday to anyone whose birthday it is. Yo, if it's your birthday in the chat, put that it's your birthday. If it's ever your birthday and you're watching the stream, make sure you say it's your birthday. I would love for the chat to wish people happy birthday. Our boy Chad, it was Chad's birthday. I don't know if he's watching this. If he's lurking, he'll come out in the comments. But if he's not, then we can also wish him a happy birthday right here. Chad's birthday was yesterday, big 40 on our boy Chad. Again, Chad is the only reason that Arnie and I got to go to AIPCon. I mean, he really pushed to like make Palantir engage with the retail investing community, particularly myself, getting me involved in a lot of these events. And, after a couple successful public appearances, Palantir wanted to continue the relationship and build that even further. So that was me, Arnie, and Chad getting a steak dinner. And then here's Chad getting his makeup done at AIPCon. I thought that was good. So there you go. Shout out to Chad. Adam says it's my birthday. Happy birthday to Adam. And Mikkel, it's your birthday. Happy birthday to you, Mikkel, as well. Happy birthday to you both currently today. I'm going to change my name to Jeepers. Someone said to call the Tesla Jeeper, dude. Maybe we should call the Tesla Jeepers. Maybe we should do that. It's my 5-year mark of investing, my investment B-Day. Did you start investing literally November 5 years ago? I think I started investing 2019 as well. Not November, though. I think like January 2019 is when I really started investing, or at least like downloaded Robinhood. That's crazy, dude. I've been using that platform for almost 6 years now, which is wild, dude. Never did I think, dude, I did not think when I was in Econ 101, or sorry, no, it was, what was the name of the class? Management ethics, something like that. I was in the back of the room and I was buying NEO. You guys know I was buying it at like $2 a share. I sold it at $6 a share. But I was buying it in January 2020 or October 2019. I did not think 4 years from now I'd fucking interview the CEO and analyze the whole company and like it'd be this whole big thing. And now when the metrics come out, I'm like like I just thought it was just a platform to like buy stocks. That's all I thought of it was at the time. It's so crazy, man. So crazy. Shit is wild, bro. Well, yeah, you can check on your Robinhood account, right? On the exact time. Let me see. So the first dollar I ever put into this stock, or just like the market, December 2018, actually. So it's been a long time. December 2018. So call it early 2019, January 2019, around that time. That's when I first opened a Robinhood. That's wild though, right? Like, who would have thought years ago I would have like been in the position to be an analyst for a retail analyst for Robinhood? That's wild, bro. Like I definitely didn't think that would happen with Palantir, but I also didn't think it would happen with the company I use every day. Michelle says we used to say it was my bestie's birthday all the time in high school. Whole lunchroom would join in. We would do it randomly. Yeah. Also in like Cheesecake Factory, I think you get a free cheesecake if you say it's your birthday. So, there's a bunch of times that I know, we and my friends would be out there and they would just say it's someone's birthday. NEO is now $5. Correct. NEO went to 60. Now it's $5. Dude, and I remember the closest experience I have to what I'm feeling right now is in 2020, when I sold NEO at 6 in July of 2020. And then call it August, it went to 8, 9, 11, 15. And my sister knew about it. So my sister was like, do you still have NEO? And I was like, no, don't remind me about it. Then it was 20. I was like, I'm definitely not buying it at 20, dude. Like, and then 30, then 40, then 45, and then 58. And I remember my sister bought some shares at 58 because she thought that thing was going to 100. Obviously, it came back down. But that's the closest experience I have to what I'm feeling right now in the stock market. It was NEO going from $3 to $60, a 20x in like 7 months. Like, I know it's not that crazy right now, but that's what I remember. But also, that was crazy because NEO didn't deserve to be $60, right? All of it. That's why 2021, I feel like, was crazier than right now. Because obviously that didn't deserve to happen during that time. Willy Wonka, thank you for the gifted 10 memberships. I appreciate that, sir. Do the gifted memberships come with like a golden ticket to the chocolate factory or something? That's amazing. Thank you, Mr. Willy Wonka. Appreciate that. By the way, I love Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I thought it was a great film. I've seen it many, many times. 2005 version, I feel like, was a little bit better than the 1970s version. But that is one movie that I have watched. I'm not a big movie watcher. But that is one movie that I like. Thank you, Mr. Willy Wonka, for that. I really appreciate it. Noah says, I was March 28th, 2020, the exact COVID bottom. Yeah, that's wild, bro. That is wild. Again, I remember March 2020, I was driving back from work, going back to one of my friend's house, and I just saw Trump on YouTube while I was driving 60 miles, just like straight down 287 South in Jersey. Trump gave that Oval Office address, and, he was basically talking about like COVID's like a serious thing now. I did not think it would result in what happened, but The entire world changed since then. And to be honest, because of COVID, a lot of people got into investing because everyone was bored at home and like people were like curious and were watching YouTube videos, and like that was a big opportunity for a lot of people to take advantage if they were curious enough about the markets, and people had a lot of time to think about that. Remember the negative oil futures? Yes. I remember just oil prices. It was like $1.80 a barrel, $1.70 a barrel, or not a barrel, but like the gas prices were $1.70, right? Oil barrel prices themselves were very, very low, but gas prices were $1.70, and we didn't see that ever since then because so much demand had just gone away. How old are you, Mitt? I am 27. I am 27 years old. Recently just turned 27 in October. A gallon. Yes, a gallon. What, $1.70, $1.80 a gallon. Do you think oil and energy is likely not going to benefit under Trump? So here's the thing. I feel like because we're going to drill so much, technically oil and energy should not benefit a ton in terms of like the nature of supply and demand, because we're going to have a ton of supply and maybe we don't have that much demand. But the oil stocks are not really going red. They're kind of like, all right, we're going to be okay. I mean, look at this. On November 1st, oil, like Exxon was at 114. Now it's at 120. So I guess the overall like drill baby drill thesis, even though that's going to create a lot more supply, Robinhood, by the way, up 3% after hours, is not going to necessarily take away too much demand. So these companies will be able to maintain free cash flows and profitability, even if they're not growing a lot, which is okay because most of them pay a dividend and the market's willing to pay for them regardless of their growth, because the market doesn't really expect them to grow that much either. So you could make an argument around that. Juan says, entered into the market in 2019. First stock I bought was Tesla. First sold stock was Tesla. First gain was Tesla. First regret was selling. Dude, I have the same experience. I sold Tesla in 2019 as well. I was up like $300-$400 on a couple of shares. And I asked my friend, what would you do? And I kind of respected him because I still respect him, but he was older than me. So I wanted his opinion. He was like, oh, you sell, take your money. And I was like, okay, cool. And I was like, all right, I made a couple $100. I didn't realize dude, that's not what you do, right? Like you let the money compound over time. You give it some room to breathe. Like you actually learn about the company now that you just let it play out. You don't just get out of it for a couple $100. So yeah, I have those early regrets of selling Tesla as well. I mean, my pre-split price on Tesla was probably, dude, can I check on Hood right now? Can I check? It's probably updated pre-split, right? If I go to the history on my Tesla, I should be able to find out if it's updated for the okay, let me see. So let's go all the way back. I don't think it's updated for the split. So it says 2 shares at 197. Yeah, but I remember buying it at 197, but we've had like 2 splits since then. So it's definitely not 197 in today's numbers. That's weird. Robinhood should update these for the splits, given that Tesla split so much. But yeah, it was low. It was probably in like the, I don't know, $50 range I was buying Tesla in around that time. So it was a long time ago. It was a long time ago. It's amazing how many people don't understand the market. Yeah, and it takes a lot. So I had so one of my kids that was one of the kids I coach. He was at a tournament in Minnesota this weekend, and there's 6 preliminary rounds in the tournament, and then if you do well, if you get a 4-2 record, so you win 4, you lose 2, you advance to be able to get into the elimination rounds. And he lost 5 rounds and won 1 round. And so, over the weekend, it sucks if you're a kid. He's a sophomore. He lost a bunch of rounds. He sent me this long text message today. No, I don't have kids. This joke is old, Nate. Talking about the kids I coach, like actual clients that I have. He sent me this long text message like, Coach Amit, I'm so sorry. I let you down. I lost all my rounds, blah, 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 blah. He just sent me this whole message. And I sent him a voice note. And I'm like, dude, I don't care if you lose. I don't care if you win. All I care is that you try. All I care is that you work your ass off. All I care is that you're putting in the work, which you are putting in the work. And all I care about is that you don't have a loser mentality. And a loser mentality is not losing the debate rounds. A loser mentality is not thinking you have a chance to one day win. And, he puts in a lot of work. He works hard, but he's a sophomore. He's young. And it was a really competitive tournament. Like when I was a sophomore, I lost a lot of rounds as well. So it's just one of those things where it's like, you got to go through you got to get punched in the face and humbled really badly, especially when you're young in debate, for you to do well your junior and senior year and have a chance of being one of the best debaters in the country. And I went through that my sophomore year, and by senior year, I was top 5 in the country. So I just sent them this voice message of just like, you got to deal with it. You got to you have to go through the pain, but never apologize about losing. Like only apologize to me if you don't think you personally put in the work to get prepared for the tournament. but not that you lost the rounds, because at the end of the day, you have to try your hardest and whatever happens, happens. And I feel like the same in the stock market. It's the same in the stock market, bro. Like you don't apologize for picking a bad stock or selling Tesla early or anything. You just say, okay, what do I learn from that? How do I get better? How do I really take this lesson and internalize it, not make the same mistake again? And you're probably going to make the same mistake again, like I have many times, because it takes a lot to learn your lessons in the markets, because the markets are brutal. This is why I'm saying enjoy your gains right now, because it is not easy to make money in the markets, even though over the long term, things end up working out if you stay invested long enough. And you learn from it, and you roll with the punches, and you keep going. That's it. That's what you got to be able to do. If you get punched in the face, you're punished. You know what I mean by punch in the face, dude? It's that same, what's that same saying by Mike Tyson? Everyone has a plan till they get punched in the face. I'm sure he thought going into that tournament, he was going to do really well. And then he got punched in the face. Just like in 2019, I thought I was going to like make a ton of money. Got punched in the face. Palantir punched me in the face in 2021. So the punches was first in 2019. Then I got punched in 2021. And then in 2023, we had a little bit less bruises. And now in 2024, there's not too many punches. So kind of just takes time. It really, really, really just takes time to have this play out. The Bruce Lee of rednecks said, "You remind me of my neighbor a bit." Again, bro, the names that you guys pick are very, very funny, to say the least. I bought Tesla almost exactly when I bought them during COVID, wrote it up 35% and sold it. Yeah, dude, I feel like I had the same thing with Tesla, buying it in 2019, January 2020, then just selling it. Like, markets are ruthless. Even what's his name? Druckenmiller. I mean, let's take a look at this clip. Some of you guys might have seen this. Some of you guys might have not. But here's Druckenmiller yesterday talking about the top on NVIDIA and how the top never came. And he thought it would, and he got humbled because he made a lot of money, but he could have made a lot more.
Embarrassingly, I did an interview on NVIDIA. I think it was like 370 or something. And I said, this is one we're probably going to own for a few years. But I didn't think it was going to go to 900 in a year and to over a $2 trillion market cap. I think it started like 100 billion or 150 billion. It was something crazy. So no, I don't necessarily sell early. I'm a technician, so I usually wait for tops. NVIDIA had no top. I just thought...
That's a hell of a quote, right? I wait for tops, but NVIDIA had no top.
What does that, just want to explain, what does it mean to have a top?
A top is something, the rate of change of it's going up changes, and it tends to flatten out for quite some time. The trick is, in the technical world, that could end up being a bull flag, where it just consolidated for a bit and then it did a new leg, or it could be a top where that was it.
And how do you know which is which?
You don't. You have an opinion and you express it, and sometimes you're right and sometimes you're wrong. With NVIDIA, there was no top, but I've analyzed the semiconductors industry, not particularly well, but since the 1970s, and it's a cyclical industry. And I knew NVIDIA had staying power, and they had 4,000 software engineers, so it wasn't just hardware. They have this thing called CUDA software that they do to make their GPUs. But I just thought once it went through 2 trillion, this is just too much. And worst case, it'll have a big correction. I'll get another chance. And of course, I didn't get another chance.
Oh, you may.
So again, even the great Druckenmiller admits that he made mistakes and that he was not able to catch the top of NVIDIA because there has been no top. And so it's tough, bro. Markets are not easy, but when you have some opportunities to win, those are opportunities that definitely have to be cherished, and you got to be grateful for them. MicroStrategy up 3% after hours. Where's Bitcoin? Bitcoin's still hovering right below 88,000. Now a dip on Bitcoin would be like, what, 81, 82? Whereas last night, the dip was like 74, given that it was at 80, if it moves in these $5,000 to $6,000 candles. So Bitcoin kind of just chilling right there at that $88,000 level. Amit, did you start any new positions on stocks other than Palantir and Hood? No, just Palantir and Hood. Again, guys, a lot of the options on Hood I'm going to be liquidating in January if things kind of work out, and then I'll have a bit more capital to allocate to other positions. But, and here's the big question, Will it make sense to start buying in 2025 at the beginning? I don't know, dude. I feel like sitting in cash in the beginning of 2025 is not the worst idea in the world, just because, I mean, like, you kind of want to see how shit plays out, right? You want to give it a couple months at least before you're like, all right, if Tesla's at 370, yeah, I'm going to buy Tesla. It's like, is that going to be the best? Are we really going to have that multi-year bull rally where we just don't see any real opportunities outside of random pullbacks? Like, we don't see a sort of rolling couple months of flatness, because 2024 had none of that. 2024 had none of that. There were, I think, 3 opportunities to buy in 2024 after the rally had already happened from the beginning of the year. So take a look at the S&P chart. If we just look at that year to date, right? Beginning of the year starts at 472, January 2nd. You really didn't have any dips, and you get to 518 in April. So for 4 months, I mean, there's like little tiny dips, but not a real dip. In April, the Israel Iran situation breaks out, and then you go back to 495. That's a real dip from 518 to 495, right? After you were at 472. And then that chills out for a little bit. And then we go up and up and up and up and up. And then by July 17th, we're at 556. You had another opportunity on August 5th to buy at 517. So August 5th and April 18th were your 2 opportunities. Then we surge higher. Then we have a small dip on September 6th. I think you guys remember September. That was the worst week of 2024. Right? It was the worst week of 2024, even if it wasn't the worst day of 2024. August 5th was the worst day. So this was the worst week. And then you go down, and then you just keep going up and up and up. And then again, there's a small little dip right before the election, but that's not really a dip in my opinion. So really the times to buy on dips was April 19th, August 6th, and September 6th, or August 5th and September 6th. So you had 3 kind of big drawdowns, and drawdowns, you know, in this case, in this bull market was 2 of them were 7% and 1 of them was 10%. And that's it. And the September one was like, yeah, September one was 4%. April one was 7%. And then August 5th one was 10%. Most of the time that doesn't happen, bro. Most of the time you get like a nasty 10 to 15% drawdown, and you consolidate for a long time before you even think of going higher. And that's what we saw in 2023 many times. If you guys remember October 2023, that was disgusting. So in July, we were at 452 in 2023. Then we went all the way down to 410 in October. And it took some time before we went higher. It took a sort of Fed pivot in December before things continued momentum. So in 2025, what will be those moments where the market corrects and we have opportunities, or do we even get those moments? I think that's going to be a big, big question going into 2025 before deciding to allocate into, you know, tons and tons and tons of new positions. And so we're going to see. BlackRock had $5 billion in spot volume today. Wow. So if $6.9 billion was for the entire ETFs, then BlackRock had 5 out of 6.9 billion. That's a lot. That is a lot. Thoughts on Microsoft? I don't love Microsoft here. I don't know, dude. I've just never been that excited about Microsoft. Out of the again, Meta, Amazon, and Tesla, to me, from a Big 7, Max 7 perspective, are just so much more exciting than Microsoft. I think Microsoft has a hell of a moat. It's very exciting, and obviously their growth in the cloud sector is great. But I think I pick Amazon any day of the week over Microsoft. It's just not. I don't know, dude. Like, the business itself is not that exciting to get interested in what Microsoft has, even though, you know, for the Microsoft bulls, there's obviously a lot of momentum for what they think is the future of Azure and cloud. But I don't think the growth is that interesting, especially with Copilot, dude. Is Copilot even a thing? Like, it's a thing, but like, is it a thing? Is like Salesforce replacing it? Is Palantir replacing it? Like, I think we are still waiting for a lot of answers on that. Speaking of AI, let's get an update in regards to what's going on in AI and the broader ecosystem, and then we'll keep going from there. Microsoft did have a good start to the year, and then they kind of fell out through the rest of the past few months.
To ChatGPT is booming, with the CEO Sam Altman bragging on X that it's now the 8th biggest website in the world.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. ChatGPT, 8th biggest website in the world. That's big. That is pretty big.
To SimilarWeb, but the site's incredible growth comes right as real concerns swirl over whether the advancement of generative AI models is actually slowing down. Deirdre Bosa takes a closer look in today's Tech Check. Hi, Deirdre.
Hey, Kelly. So in other words, has it peaked? And that's a conversation certainly gaining traction here in Silicon Valley these days. The idea that rapid Gen AI advancements that we've seen of recent years are showing signs of deceleration. There was VC Ben Horowitz on the latest A16Z podcast.
We're increasing GPUs at the same rate but we're not getting the intelligence improvements at all.
Oh, is that podcast out? Is that podcast out? A16Z? Oh, yep. That podcast is out. That's an hour and 20. Oh, no. No, that's not officially out. Oh, no, that's not officially out. Okay, so that's going to be out soon, but that's not officially out yet. Okay.
Out of it.
Reid Hoffman made a similar point on another podcast, and the information reporting that the increase in the quality of Orion, that's OpenAI's upcoming advanced model, is less than the quality jump between the last two flagship models, GPT-3 to GPT-4. So in other words, Gen AI advancements may have peaked, essentially because the models are running out of data to train on. Now, if that core assumption is changing, that could lead investors to question the way that they have been valuing AI companies. Could also drive changes in the AI hardware market, that is chips. Now, in terms of who stands to benefit, I want to point back to that SimilarWeb post. It showed that ChatGPT is now one of the largest websites in the world by traffic. In October, it put ChatGPT visits at 3.7 billion in October versus Perplexity's 91 million versus Google Gemini's 292 million. Now, even if technological advancements, they are slowing down, other CEOs operating in the space like Mark Zuckerberg say that there's still a lot of opportunity to build consumer and enterprise applications on top of the current technology, even if it has plateaued. There's Notebook LM, computer use, agents. These are all examples of new and potential use cases built on top of existing models, Kelly. So the only point I make is that this could be driving a change in how we think about how we value these AI models, right? What can you build with existing technology versus the next jump in technology?
Yeah, I mean, I still also wonder about the IPOs that we may ever see. This has been such a slow year the last couple of years. You know, we had a record 2021. And does any of the tinkering in this field tell us that we're going to get a busier IPO docket maybe next year? Or is it unrelated and going to ultimately accrue to the big platforms and so forth?
It's a great question. I think what we were already starting to see is some of the hardware names, some of the new chip makers like Cerebras, and some of the application layers that might be easier to value, right? Because they're just building on top of the large language models. Maybe you'll see more of them. And I think when you think about the OpenAIs, the Anthropics, just how much investment they need to develop these models, that could be and is likely to be further off.
All right, Deirdre, thank you. For now, Deirdre Bosa reporting.
You know, Lex did a podcast with the Anthropic CEO today as well. So I think there's going to be something to gain from that in terms of the models and the explanation of where the models are going and where the market thinks the value is going to be from these models as well. Vibe Up says, I didn't see your coverage for NVIDIA earnings. What do you think will happen? So I didn't really do a ton of coverage yet. That we still have till November 20th until earnings, but I think it's kind of simple. I think NVIDIA is going to put up, well, what are the estimates right now? I think they're going to beat estimates by either $500 million to $1 billion, and then they're going to guide for closer to 40, probably not 40 billion, but like 36, 37 billion. Street wants 32.8 billion. That's the guide. That's the street number, 74 cents EPS. If they put up 34.5 billion, which I think is what takes the stock to 165, you're looking at something really nice. If they put up 33.5, it'll be, it's not going to be that exciting. So Street's saying 32.8. If they put up 34.5 or even 34, 34 is good. 34.5 would be really good. And then if they can guide for October or for Q4 to be closer to 36, 37, you're going to see some more momentum. Remember, last quarter, they put up 30 billion. The street thought they would put up 28.7, and they put up 68 cents of EPS. The street thought they would put up 64 cents. So you're going to need some decent numbers. 33.5 would not be that good. I mean, that would be great, but it's not as big of a beat as I think the street wants. You know, if Jensen's saying Blackwell demand is insane, you've got to have some insane numbers, right? And so I think 34 to 34.5 would be massive. 33.5 would still be good. I don't know if it gets us to 160. But I think 160 is kind of on dock with 34.5 in revenues. Snowflake is also on 1120 as well. That's going to be important. And so we're going to see that as well. Bitcoin 90K soon. Where is Bitcoin right now? Bitcoin 87,525. So falling down a little bit from 88,000. Robinhood up 2.68%, 33.59. Tesla at 350, up 1.37% on the day. Alibaba at 95.42. And you've got Coinbase here up 1.18% on the day. Where is Palantir after the bell? Palantir, $60.49, up about 0.42% right now. Yeah, I mean, look, a close over with all the madness we're having today. We're not even, seeing how big of a deal it is that we closed over 60, but we closed over 60, which is insane. And look, Palantir was at 62, so if it wants to keep running, maybe 65 is on our path. 67 to 69 gives you the $150 billion OpenAI market cap. If we blow past that, then my whole OpenAI market cap analysis is maybe it's right, but it doesn't matter because Palantir would be even more expensive than OpenAI at that point. So the market's thinking it's going to be even more valuable than OpenAI, which I guess that's how the market wants to interpret it. But $69 is where you get OpenAI's market cap, which maybe that's where the market thinks that we can get there. I love that it is 69. It is very funny. I've had a couple conversations with people of that number equating to that OpenAI valuation. And it looks like 69 is the target if it does get there. Also, if you look at the 0.68 fib extension on the technicals, 69 is the level that it's saying it can get to. And so now it's up to the market to kind of see if we can continue that momentum. NVIDIA earnings is 11/20, correct. November 20th, NVIDIA earnings. So in about 9 days from now, we will see NVIDIA earnings. That's on Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday, November 20th. So about a little week and a half from here, we'll get NVIDIA earnings. I heard rumors Hims will get a buyout offer. They're not going to get a buyout offer, dude. And maybe they could, but look, they're small enough to buy out. I just don't think they want to sell because their growth is incredible. I mean, these guys are growing closer to 70% a year. Like, if they're going to sell, they're going to charge a pretty hefty premium. And the stock's already up more than 100% this year. So whoever's buying them would be paying them they'd be at least at 12 billion. Right now they're at 6 billion. I don't think Hims would sell for lower than 12 billion. Especially with rate cuts coming down, like all the momentum for a small cap that's growing and that's profitable, like Hims, is there. They just have to keep doing their thing. So I don't think they're going to get bought out. And if they do, it's going to be a nice premium for shareholders. Probably more than double, I feel like, the current valuation on Hims. Okay, folks, I think that's pretty much it. I will be back tomorrow after hours, not after hours, in the pre-markets at what time? At 8:45 a.m. We do have CPI coming out on Thursday, I think. When do we have CPI this week? Or Wednesday? CPI, we have Shopify and Home Depot in the morning, November 13th. So that's Wednesday. Yeah, so we have CPI on Wednesday. We have Shopify and Home Depot tomorrow when it comes to earnings in the morning after the bell tomorrow. We have Spotify, Rocket Lab, Oxy, Kava, Soundhound, Marathon, Cart, Rumble, Zoom Info, Stone, or Stein, I think. Yeah, Stoneco. And then Wolf. So a decent amount of earnings tomorrow, Rocket Lab being that big one. And then, yeah, we have the market open tomorrow and then CPI on Wednesday. And then NVIDIA next week. That's it. Those are kind of the main catalysts left. By the way, someone said Grindr's down after hours. Is it down after hours? No, it's up after hours. Grindr's up 3% after hours. It was at 15.10 today. Up at 15.50. But after hours is not really that liquid, so it kind of just goes up and down randomly. But holding 15 currently. Right now, after hours. Rocket Lab could get a pump tomorrow. Dude, Rocket Lab's had such a big pump already. I mean, if they smash earnings and this sucker blows up to 20, I mean, dude, it was at 11 on Sunday. So 11 it was 11 last Sunday. Then it was at 14 this Friday. Now it's at 15 something. I mean, I don't know, dude. If Rocket Lab crushes earnings and that thing goes to 20, again, the market cap is not a lot on Rocket Lab. You could say it's getting expensive, but Rocket Lab is now it's a $7 billion company, but still relatively small. It was like a $4 billion company a couple months ago. So that one's still small, and money looks like it's chasing some smaller names versus the large caps that are currently out there right now. Okay, cool. That's it. Thank you, everybody. Last check on the markets. We got Bitcoin at 87,110. You've got Robinhood at 33.62 after hours. You've got Tesla after hours at 354, up 1.14%. Palantir, $60.53 after hours. And the S&P 500, 598.33, down about 0.07% after hours. That's it. Thank you, everybody. I'll have the Robinhood results on Twitter for those that want to get all the metrics again. So it'll be posted in a couple minutes. And I will see you guys tomorrow on the Market Open. 30-minute extended stream starts now. Well, what I really know, I'm just kidding. All right. I love you guys. Thank you. I'll see you guys tomorrow on the Market Open. Bye, everyone.